Hey everyone, happy Friday. You made it. Even in the moments you didn't think you was going to make it, you made it this week. And so I'm super excited today to share with you my secret sauce. If you have been sticking with me for the past 6 weeks, go ahead and just do a pat on the back. Consistency is not often, you know what I'm saying? Not often seen, not often heard, not often felt. And so if you've been consistent with me for the past 6 weeks, go ahead and give yourself a pat on the back because today you are going to get my secret sauce. You are going to get my secret sauce, my 4 steps to building a magnetic nonprofit brand. And these are the exact things that I do when I work with my clients. Okay, so let's talk about where we started. So this all started because I was really frustrated with the lack of resources available in my community. I felt like there were all these government contracts and grants, but I just really didn't understand why, if all this money was out there and all these resources were out there, why isn't the community getting them? So after doing some research and just really doing some listening, I realized that the resources were plentiful, but many times there was just a lack of communication, meaning people just knew nothing about them. Either the nonprofits weren't showing up in the right spaces, they weren't engaging with the right power brokers and communities, and a host of other reasons. But nevertheless, I decided to really dedicate this brand to something meaningful. And that's helping to amplify the brands of organizations that are simply out to do good. And so here we are. So let's get into it. My secret sauce. So the very first thing I do when I bring a client in is I want to study the landscape of your brand, both internally and your competitors. So I want to understand your brand internally because I just want to see really what your team thinks, where your team sees the improvements need to be made, really how well you feel you're communicating your brand when you're talking to people one-on-one. And then I also want to understand what your competitors are doing and what's making them so successful, so powerful, and how can you leverage their skill sets through either partnerships or just by reverse engineering what they've done successfully to do it for your brand. So once I really understand where you all are internally and also where your competitors are externally, I want to set some goals. I want to set some realistic goals based on where you are versus where you should be. And I want to kind of slowly work you up to where you need to be. We also create a crisis management plan. So I always like to say, and I'm sorry if your name happens to be Billy Bob, it's just the word that comes to mind. Billy Bob comes onto your social media post and starts telling everybody how much he hates your organization. We want to have a plan as to how we want to address that and any other negative commentary. And then we integrate you into our tools so that you know exactly how we work, what our workflow is, and so that we're all on the same page. From there, we actually conduct our first strategy meeting. So we do all of that first. And that's because we want to come to the table with as much information as possible so that you can see that we're being thorough in how we decide to go about marketing and promoting your brand on social media. And we do that for 2 reasons. We want to make sure we get your buy-in because if your team doesn't believe in the strategy, we're going to have a lot of struggles, right? And so we just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, playing for the same team. The next thing we want to do is we want to educate you on how social media works and which tactics we'll use to accomplish certain goals. Because a lot of times when people come to me, they're under the impression that this tactic equals this result when a lot of times that's not the case. And so we kind of use that to re-educate you. During that time, you also get a first look at your first few pieces of content, and we go live on the page within 6 weeks. So we spend a lot of time up front in those first 6 weeks, just making sure we understand what we're getting into and developing a very, very thorough strategy so that when the rubber actually hits the road, you begin to see those results immediately. So if you think about the scope of that, and if you think about the timeline of our results in 4 months, you're seeing 3 times the reach in 4 months, you're seeing 2.5 times the clicks. You can check our case studies if you haven't seen those. But it's really important that we talk about the 6-week time frame, because if you want social media services, you have to come before you want to go live. It takes about 6 weeks, and we're going to spend that time, and it's not going to be wasted, because just 3 months after your first post, you're going to start to see those amazing results. And as a matter of fact, my most recent client saw those results in a month. And so we are very diligent about what we do up front. And that's why we see the results that we see. And I cannot wait to work with more nonprofits. So if you're interested in working with us and really amplifying your brand in the community, helping people to see you, helping your local officials to see you, to put you into rooms where your audience is, then let's work together. We help small to mid-sized nonprofits amplify their reputation and deepen their community ties through content marketing. And this is our signature social media marketing service. Typically, people may ask, well, what kind of organizations do you work with? We love working with social advocacy, education, and health nonprofits. But if you're not in those spaces, we won't turn you away as long as we have the capacity to work with you. We understand that everybody has different passions, and as a result, we have nonprofits that focus on different issues. If you have any questions, if you're wondering if this is right for you guys, I encourage you to check me out next week. I'll kind of go into some Q&A, what the service is, why I created it, who it's for, who it's not for, what results do we typically see, some FAQs, and any other details and specifics you might want to know. So in the meantime, in between time, I hope you have a great holiday weekend. If you got a little extra time and you want to put in a little bit of extra work, go ahead and click that needs assessment. Remember, it's free. You get it. There's hands off. There's no need to do anything else. We do offer you with a jumpstart call if after that assessment you decide you want a roadmap to kind of determine what are the next steps for you. But aside from that, reach out. Don't be afraid to ask the question, and don't be afraid to just be curious and get started. So have a great weekend. I'm going to head to the gym because I want to start this weekend off strong, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.